John. Good morning, everyone. We're just going to take a minute or two to let everybody file in. Hope you're having a good morning. Ronley, if you want to put something in the chat, go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna just turn on your microphone for a second here, Ronley. Go ahead. Ronley,
No.
you should be able to speak at this point.
Now I can speak, but I couldn't see myself and I couldn't figure out where I'm going to turn on my computer. Sorry, it's a new computer. I'm learning.
Okay, have you figured it out now?
I'm hearing you guys, I seeing all of you guys. I don't know where I turn on my view.
Right. Well, you will only, this is a webinar, not a Zoom meeting. So you will just see the panelists today. You will not see yourself.
Okay, then I will I will mute myself and to listen.
Yes, and we'll go over a little bit of housekeeping in just a minute. Thanks, Ronley.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. If you have a moment, please put your name and organization in the chat so we can all see where y'all are from. No, you should be able to Robert, you should be able to click to host and panelists and see the chat that is everybody. Okay, while everyone is still coming in, why don't we go to the next slide, please? And I'll just go over a little bit of housekeeping for today. So as I announced earlier, it would be lovely if you would put your name and affiliation in the chat, just so that we can see everyone who's here today. You should know that following the webinar, we will send out a copy of the slide deck, as well as a recording of this webinar, and we will be transcribing the Q&A and sending that out as well. So please today, if you have questions, use the little Q&A button along the control bar at the bottom. Use the Q&A, don't use the chat. It's too hard to keep up with the chat. We have people here who will help answer questions in the Q&A as we go. We're going to move through this presentation fairly quickly to open up some time at the end for live questions. However, everyone will get the transcribed Q&A, and I encourage you to take a look at that when you get it, because you may not see all of the questions that are answered during this presentation. Okay, so with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to our co-host, California Nonprofits, and Lauren Kay. Could we get the next slide, please?
Me? I'm on?
Go ahead.
Hey, all right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Martha. We are at Cal Nonprofits are really proud to serve as a co-sponsor for this webinar and to support Californians for the arts with this really important new opportunity. I know it's really great, and I know you want to get to the information. So like CFTA, we at Cal Nonprofits are concerned with policies and legislation at the state level. We are first and foremost a policy alliance. We're member supported, member driven, and together we work to raise the voice of all nonprofits across the state to protect and strengthen their ability to serve their communities.
And
So
let's go to the next slide, please.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. So, yeah, a little more about us. We prevent bad regulations from passing, and we also fight for good legislation like CFTA. And most recently, we were successful in advocating for the passage of a new advanced payment bill, AB 590, and that paves the way for government contracts with nonprofits to include startup payments. So that was a big win. And if you do government contracting, you know that that's important. We were also working on a full package of legislation to improve contracting with government. And we're going to still be working on that because not all of those bills made it through. We influence state funding. That's very important. That's one of the reasons we're involved in this, because we like to see those monies coming to nonprofits. We also offer a wide range of learning opportunities about everything from how to get your first government grant to how to start a nonprofit. I want to give a heads up that coming up December 14th, we'll be holding our annual policy event, which this year is a half-day online symposium. And I encourage you to go to calnonprofits.org and learn more. You'll hear more about advocacy that's happening around the state, including from CFTA's Julie Baker, to hear successes and be inspired to work on behalf of your organizations and your own communities.
Maybe go ahead to the last slide here.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, so I want to invite you to explore membership with Cal Nonprofits, because in addition to supporting our advocacy work, you also have access to a whole range of benefits, including insurance that's specific to nonprofits, both health and organizational. We provide all kinds of discounts on services and office supplies. There's a lot there. And most of our webinars you'll attend for free as a member or at a good discount. So, go to our website, sign up for our emails, stay informed about what's coming up. And I'll stop there because I know there's a lot of ground to cover, and you want to learn about the Paymaster program. And so it's now my pleasure to introduce to you Tracy Hudak from, I hope I said that right, from Californians with the Arts. And on to you, Tracy.
Everybody, welcome. Good morning. Next slide, please. I'm the Director of Field Engagement for Californians for the Arts. Oh, thank you. And we're actually two sister organizations that work in conjunction with each other. Californians for the Arts is a nonprofit, a traditional nonprofit focused network. We provide training and resources and tools to grow advocacy capacity in individuals and groups across the state. And California, and to learn from you as Director of Field Engagement, you all inform our work, the issues, your challenges, your aspirations as well. Our California Arts Advocates is a lobbying organization that works in direct influence with legislators, state agencies on both increasing funding and improving policy and regulations to help our field. And we're Cal Nonprofits has been an essential partner in this work. We're really work with a lot of coalitions on strengthening resources and again policies for arts, culture, and creativity in the state. Next slide, please. And like Cal Nonprofits, we are also member-supported, members-fueled movement for us. And if you would like to support keeping the educational training and activation work free to the whole state, we'd appreciate your support of Californians for the Arts. And if you'd like to support direct lobbying, we could use your support in that space as well. And I will wrap up what I have to say quickly so you can get to the goodies. So, and I'm going to put my email address in the chat if you ever need to reach out and inform me of what's going on and be in communication. I would love to hear from you. Thank you. Next slide.
And now John Reedy, the CEO of Austin Creative Alliance.
Hey, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview of our mission and what we do. We advance community-driven cultural work. We connect resources to the cultural, arts, music, and preservation sector. And locally in Austin, Texas, we advocate for the growth of sustainable cultural investment. We take our values very seriously. I am privileged to say that, or I have been privileged to spend my entire adult life in the cultural sector. That's 30 years of working with culture bearers and workers and arts administrators. It is key to my personal world, and I take these values very seriously. Service, inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, integrity, and accountability. Everything we do is focused on service, and that's why we're so grateful to have the opportunity to serve more cultural workers and the organizations that employ them. Next slide, please. A little bit of our history. We're almost 50-year-old organization. We transitioned in 2009 from a theater-specific service organization to be inclusive of all artistic disciplines. And our work has really grown in response to our members' needs. In particular, we became an Actors Equity Association paymaster, specifically in response to some of our Austin members who wanted to hire equity actors. That sparked the creation of our paymaster program over a decade ago, and that has continued to grow just organically over time. You know, we haven't pushed it, we're not marketing it. It's all word of mouth because we provide an honest and fair service, and we do the best job we possibly can to be accountable and transparent to the clients that we serve. And so it has grown organically, and we now include producer of record and employer of record services. We also provide fiscal sponsorship to over 100 emerging arts groups. And we're really pleased to say that we serve over 400 individuals and 160 organizations across 24 states. And that, again, has grown organically. While we still maintain a focus in Austin, we have seen that people around the country obviously need our services, and we're only one of 2 nonprofit paymasters in the country. And that's really it for me. I'm going to throw it back to Martha. Thank y'all.
Thank you, John. Okay, so at this point in the presentation, we usually spend a little bit of time on how we got here and also clarifying the difference between 2 distinct programs. I'm going to abbreviate this today. If you are interested, you will receive the slide deck. You can read more of the detailed history in the slides. So my point today is to just differentiate between the Equitable Payroll Fund and the Nonprofit Performing Arts Paymaster, now called CALPAYART. Both of these pieces of legislation started in one bill, and I think that that's why confusion has arisen. Sometimes people confuse the 2 programs, and sometimes they conflate them. So the Equitable Payroll Fund, which has just recently been funded and is just being set up now, is a program that will provide matching grants for payroll expenses. It's a grant program. The Nonprofit Performing Arts Paymaster that we're discussing today is a service. It is a program to provide paymaster services to small performing arts nonprofits. And both of these work together in that they seek to stabilize the field, but they are 2 distinct programs. In 2021, we secured the funding for this program. Let's go to the next bill. And the bill, and then the Equitable Payroll Fund piece was reintroduced as a separate piece of legislation by Senator Portantino. Let's move ahead. So these slides just go through the journey of how the Equitable Payroll Fund was first passed and then funded. Let's get to the last slide here, this one. Okay, so the Paymaster program and how did this particular group of people got here? I think you probably have some sense of it already, but $500,000 was approved in a budget bill to go to the California Arts Council to create this Paymaster program. They issued an RFP seeking a nonprofit to establish the program and to run the program. Californians for the Arts responded to this RFP, and in doing so brought in a partner, Austin Creative Alliance, who would, with the idea that they would actually provide the paymaster services. We received that award a month later, and then it took from October of 2022 until June of this year for the paperwork to be finalized and for the work to get underway. So today we're rolling out this program for you. Yes, Austin Creative Alliance has been in the paymaster services business for 10 years, which is very reassuring, but this is a new program and you are some of the first to hear about it. I'm now going to introduce Laura Wahlberg to begin our presentation on the paymaster. Laura?
And just when I'm trying to unmute myself, the button doesn't want to respond. Thank you so much, Martha. Welcome, everybody. My name is Laura Wahlberg. As you can clearly read, I'm the Director of Finance here at Austin Creative Alliance. I've been serving as paymaster through Austin Creative Alliance since I arrived at this organization in July of 2019. Being not unlike my CEO, a member of the arts community around the country my entire life. Coming into this role, I found has served a distinct passion that I'm really excited to be able to share with you guys today. So let's jump into things really quick. Thanks so much. I, like Martha, am not going to read through everything. I will try and make sure that we are hitting the broad strokes and the main points and move through this as quickly as we can. Please stay where you are, thank you. So that we can get to your Q&A after this presentation is over, okay? But as Martha mentioned earlier, please feel free to be continuing to put your questions into the Q&A area right now, as one of our payroll associates is on hand to try and help answer your questions. All righty, so what exactly is a paymaster and why might you need one? Well, small performing arts, nope, please stay on the previous slide. If you could please go to the previous slide. Thank you so much. I will call for next slide when it's time to move on. Thank you. Small performing arts organizations do not always have the ability or the expertise to handle the complications of hiring employees onto payroll efficiently. Not to mention, on an ongoing basis, especially with small independent companies, these tasks can become quite the burden. Folks will reach out to a paymaster to help them alleviate that burden. A paymaster will serve as the employer of record for your employees. You can kind of look at it as they are an implemented administrative extension of your organization. We serve as the intermediary between you and, say, organizations such as the IRS, unemployment agencies, insurance companies, union entities. We are here to meet you where you are, and that'll be a key phrase that I'm going to be repeating a lot today, so try and remember it, is we try to step in and help you fulfill the duties on your behalf. So I already feel like I'm talking in a circle, so let's move on to the next slide officially and really start getting into the nuts and bolts of this. Next slide. Hey, we meet you where you are, remember? I'm going to say that a lot, so please forgive my repetitiveness, but it is really important. Because on the heels of what my CEO said to you guys earlier, this is really our driving force. It is part of the tenets of our organization, and we live and breathe this stuff on a regular basis every single day. Our paymaster services, and subsequently the payroll services that are provided through our paymaster service, is available to all types of employees. Permanent, temporary, union, non-union, full-time, part-time, salaried, hourly, you name it. We are able to help you in whatever manner you choose to employ your people. With that said, it should be noted that this program does not require that you come to us with absolutely all of your payroll needs. If you're finding that your organization that has a pretty good handle on your long-term or your consistent employees that are working with you throughout the entire year, but you're really struggling with your productions, we can step in and help you with just your productions. Next slide, please. This is a really important slide because I want to try and help make sure that I am readily able to identify for you the difference between your organization employing a payroll company such as Chex or Gusto or ADP versus entering into a paymaster relationship, which is your organization securing a service. On here are some of the basic tenets around that. A payroll company is a tool that you have chosen to use to execute your payroll. Securing a paymaster service is a service that you utilize that may use a tool to execute payroll on your behalf. Working with a payroll company, your in-house personnel need to understand how to use that tool. They need to understand its capabilities. They have to be working around any limitations it might have. Whereas working with a paymaster, we take on that responsibility for you and leaving your folks free to do the other elements of their job that they were brought on to do. Finally, when it comes to your organization implementing a payroll company versus a paymaster, your organization is required to execute all associated pre- and post activities in-house. In working with a paymaster, you are working with a dedicated paymaster associate that manages all those activities for you. Next slide, please. To try and help make sure that we're really giving you a full understanding, being a visual person myself, we put together this Venn diagram to try and help illustrate how a paymaster relationship works with your organization. And if you'll notice, your employees are the one thing that is sitting right smack dab in the middle. In working with a paymaster, wherein you, the employer, establishes and negotiates all of your contracts, your paymaster administers the payroll specification of those contracts. Your paymaster doesn't negotiate those things for you. We simply execute what you have chosen to do. Therefore, you choose and hire the employees that you want to choose. We merely facilitate onboarding those employees, issuing their wages, paying the taxes, filing all appropriate reports. You, the employer, manages your workplace and conducts any required on-site trainings. We help ensure that proper deductions are applied and fulfilled on all of those payroll executions. We also have the facility to be able to help administer some of the HR responsibilities, like employee handbooks, for example. It's a great example. We can help facilitate some of those things for you. You, the employer, select your employee-funded pension program. We merely help ensure that those deductions get taken care of and the appropriate filings go to the correct entities. There's one thing on the CalPay Paymaster side that is not really represented on your organization, and that is this bottom item right here, the providing worker protections and administering claims. Working as your paymaster, we provide employer of record services. So if any of your employees during the term of their employment with you get hurt, we manage all of the workman's comp claims. We also, conversely, manage all unemployment claims on your behalf as well. So when someone calls you and says, I'm going to be filing for unemployment, guess what? All you need to do is direct them to your friendly neighborhood paymaster, so long as we were the entity that executed their payroll. Next slide, please. Now, these next slides are really going to kind of dig into some of the nuts and bolts about working with a paymaster and how a paymaster will work with you. Before I do that, there's something that I kind of wanted to make sure that I jumped in with here, and that is with regard to the CalPayArt program, you don't necessarily need to be a huge organization. we find that we are able to provide paymaster services to an organization that is even just a single individual. So we also are able to provide paymaster services to fiscally sponsored projects as well. I urge you to keep that in mind as we're going through all of this, because anything that I am about to share with you is 100% applicable to no matter who you are. Next slide, please. In working with a paymaster, information access is key and critical. Employers are provided with the option to access a secure online portal to facilitate document exchanges. Things like payroll reports, copies of your paid invoices, things like that. It is not a requirement that you use this tool. If you choose to join the CalPayArt program, you will be provided with the opportunity to use said tool or not. But we find that it helps facilitate making sure that information is not getting lost in the ether, shall we say. Now, whereas employers are covered in that way, employees are automatically granted never-ending 24/7 access to their payroll portal, where they can view their pay stubs, they can access end-of-year filing documents, they can view any of the required HR documentation that you may need them to have signed when they are onboarded. Additionally, they are able to maintain 100% secure, direct maintenance of their own personal private information. So in working with CalPayArt Paymaster in particular, you're setting your employees up in a place where they never have to fill out another W-4. They never have to provide another I-9. They simply maintain all of this information online in our secure payroll portal. Now that's, if you're thinking, well, great, that's great for my long-term employees, but what about my actors or my dancers or my musicians that come in and out and they do a show here or there? Well, guess what? They have the exact same access as your long-term employees. And they are turned on and off as necessary as you work with your dedicated payroll, a paymaster associate, whenever they need to come on board for a production or whatever short-term needs you may deem fit for them. Next slide, please. Your dedicated paymaster associate will work with you and acts as sort of an extension of your existing in-house administration in whatever form that looks like. We set that person up with you so that you've got a one-stop single person that you know that you can always come to ask for anything. And they will be working with you to make sure that they know exactly where you are, when you are, and why you are doing the things that you're doing. They help make sure that all of your payroll needs are met. If there are any changes with your employees, raises, bonuses, any additions or updates, they're all taken care of directly with your paymaster associates. Salaried employee payroll is run on the pay cycle or cycles as determined by you. Ongoing salaried employees, those payrolls do not require your ongoing intervention to execute. In working with your paymaster, we only require that you approve your hourly employees' work hours. And all of that is done through our technology. It's all done online, and you will be receiving regular email reminders saying, hey, this is coming up. Hey, this is due. We want to make sure that we are giving you everything that you need to help make sure that these things can be done on time so that your people can be paid on time. On the front end, your hourly workers are provided access to a clock right there on their phone where they can enter their time into the time card or even go so far as clocking in and clocking out. What I'm trying to say is whatever mechanics your organization needs in order to help manage your employees, we can help do. Next slide, please. Your DPA, or Dedicated Paymaster Associate, ensures that all required and desired payroll deductions are applied to the payroll as needed. That means as needed per employee. In this, we provide all, we may ensure that all claimed W-4 tax deductions are implemented. Wage garnishments are applied as applicable. If your employee or employees have union dues, pension plans, health plans, quite literally any typical deduction or even atypical deduction that might be required on any of your employees' payroll can be managed through us. And final wages, as we recommend, will always be direct deposited as defined by the employee into one or more bank accounts that your employee determines. Hard checks are available, but we do strongly recommend against that, solely because it takes a little bit more time for them to receive their paychecks from us. Next slide, please. The paymaster on an ongoing basis calculates the state and federal, state, local employer taxes, and we make all of the payments appropriate to the payroll that we run for not only your organization, but all organizations that we are providing paymaster services to. We file required state tax documentation, and at the end of the year, we issue the W-2s to your people. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out is that if you have hired an actor, or if your artistic director goes and works at another theater, and that theater also happens to be using us as a paymaster, those individuals, even if they're working for multiple organizations, if their payroll is being run through us as a paymaster by those organizations, that employee will have one single W-2 that they receive at the end of the year from us. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier when we were looking at the Venn diagram, your paymaster is in providing these employer of record services. We administer and manage all workmen's compensation and unemployment insurance claims. So just to reiterate, one of your employees comes and says, I fell at rehearsal yesterday, I'd like to file for workman's comp. You direct them to us, and we work it out with that employee and manage it through our workman's comp. Our workman's comp and our unemployment insurance are charged on a pay-as-you-go basis, so you are not required to be reaching out to an insurance company to secure your own workman's compensation, unless you are only intending to use your paymaster for partial payroll services. Additionally, and we'll get into this a little bit more in a moment, unemployment rates, if you're not currently signed up with the state for an SUI, we've got you covered and you do not need to register for one. But if you already are, we'll meet you where you are, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Next slide, please. Union agreements. If you haven't been involved with working with unions, let me tell you, they can get a little complicated. I'm a union member myself, and so that's one of the things that was a passion for me in coming to this job, was helping to bridge the gap between the union members and the producers that want to work with them. We've worked with a number of existing unions right now on an ongoing basis throughout the years, and if we're so we really truly understand how union agreements work. We have been working with Actors Equity actually for over 10 years now. And in addition, we've been finding that if there are any union agreements that we've not necessarily worked with before, our experience has more than allowed us to step up to the task to make sure to be able to quickly and efficiently and correctly ensure correct administration of your union agreements. In doing so, we calculate the member deducted dues and make sure to make the appropriate payments to said union. We also calculate and remit any funds required for union benefit plans, pension and health. Additionally, if there are any additional artist fees, such as reimbursements, musicians' cartage fees, things like that. We can also make sure that those get appropriately rolled up into the payroll process as well for you. The note at the bottom referring to producer of record services, as a general note, we do require that the producer of record responsibilities does remain with our paymaster clients. As the employer, you are the producer, you are responsible for, as I mentioned before when we were looking at the Venn diagram, negotiating all of those contracts and establishing all of those relationships with the union. However, on occasion, your union, in finding out that you're working with a paymaster, may require that your paymaster signs those contracts as the producer of record. We are more than capable and happy to provide that service at no cost to you moving forward. So again, we try and meet you where you are, providing exactly whatever you need as you need it, and we're not going to nickel and dime you for every little nuance that might be coming up. Next slide, please. Ironic, isn't it? Now we're really getting to the big question of the day. How much does this service cost? The slides that are going to be following here, I'll try to clearly illustrate exactly how things get invoiced, how monies are transferred, and show you exactly what a paymaster does on the financial side. So let's jump in right here and go to the next slide, please. In coming onto the CalPayArt program, there is a one-time, lifetime registration fee of $100. This $100, once you've chosen to participate in the program, is charged to you to establish your organization throughout all of the required paymaster systems. It helps get your managers onboarded. It helps get your people onboarded. It makes sure that we've got you set up across the board. And when I say one time, lifetime, what that means is that if you choose to come into the program and you've been set up in our systems, and say you're going to put it on hold and you decide 2 years from now that you want to come back to the program and use our services again, well, guess what? That one-time lifetime registration fee, you've already paid it. You don't need to be paying it again. Now, with the launch of the CalPayArt program, Californians for the Arts has chosen to grant the first 250 participants who sign on to the program, they will be granting that $100 fee. That will be done through your working with us to get you onboarded. There's no funds that you need to be waiting for or applying for from the Californians for the Arts. We simply work it into your onboarding process and you're all set. Once you've been established into the system, in order to get your payroll started, you will receive an invoice that clearly identifies exactly where all of the funds that you are being asked to pay is going. Your invoices are structured very repetitively in the same manner. The first line will always be gross wages in whatever way you have determined that needs to look with your dedicated paymaster associate. The next line will be a summary of taxes, federal, state, and local as required. The following line item will be what you are being charged for workman's compensation, which is currently a flat 5%. And that 5% is calculated on gross wages. The next line underneath that will be what you're being charged for unemployment insurance. The program caps this at 6.1%. However, if you are an existing employer with the state of California and you've already been issued your SUI number and are paying into the California unemployment insurance program at a specific rate that is 6.1% or lower, upon presentation of that document to your dedicated paymaster associate, we will meet that exact same rate and it will not change. One of the tenets of this program is that in addition to meeting you where you are, we are trying to make sure that we are meeting your costs where they are or lower. What this means for an organization that might currently be paying an SUI rate that is higher than 6.1%, in joining the CalPayArt program, you will only ever be paying these flat capped 6.1%. Following the unemployment and workman's comp line items, you will see any employer contributions to employer or employee funded health or pension plans as applicable by your, or however your organization has deemed to fulfill these needs. The bottom line will always be the CalPayArt fee, and it is calculated, not unlike workman's comp, at 5% of gross wages, plus a nominal hard cost payroll processing fee of $5 per active employee per payroll period. I tend to refer to this as the stamp that you put on the letter. Can't mail a letter without a stamp. So that's what, metaphorically speaking, that's what that $5 per active employee per payroll period really means. Next slide, please. The CalPayArt program, and working with ACA as the paymaster, we will never ask you for your banking information. We will never be automatically withdrawing funds from your accounts. Always provide the funds to cover your payroll through invoices that you electronically pay online. You are able to pay with a hard check, but we don't recommend that simply because until the funds arrive, we're going to be unable to fulfill your payroll needs. When it comes to how we categorize paymaster services, we fundamentally have two buckets. We have your long-term staffing paymaster services, which would be, say, for your artistic director or your box office manager that comes in to work every day, your janitor that comes in to work and clean your building every day. We also, the other bucket is what we refer to as the production paymaster services. These are the services that are, if you're producing a show and you're hiring designers and crew members and stage managers and all of the people that come in for that short finite amount of time and then bug out. We consider those short-term or temporary production paymaster services. Now, when it comes to how we bill those, traditionally a paymaster collects all anticipated payroll costs for a particular project in advance, and then I'll pay all wages, taxes, workers' protection, service fees out of that fund throughout the course of that production. You work with your dedicated paymaster associate to make sure that all of that is very clearly defined. You receive a single invoice, pay it, we pay everything out. Now, we understand that this is a different way of working for a lot of organizations. Please understand, our tenet to meet you where you are is truly exactly that. So if paying up front for the entire production is simply beyond your organization's capabilities, please know that our paymaster associates are here to work with you to ensure that you are set up with an appropriate financial plan to make sure that your payroll is always covered before we execute anything for your employees. Now, conversely, long-term staffing paymaster services, we're not going to ask you for a year's worth of salary for your people to just, that's crazy. What we do is we request that you establish a small bond with us to get payroll started. Then, as your long-term employees are executed payroll, you are billed on a monthly basis for the payroll that you have executed. That bond is there to ensure that if there's any issues, whether it be you got into a car accident and weren't able to pay the invoice on time, your bond is there to act as a safety net for your long-term employees to ensure that they never miss a paycheck. Next slide, please. Not going to read everything on here because, well, you've already had a fire hose of information today. But in conclusion, I do want to reiterate that this program does not require that you run all of your payroll needs through your paymaster. It would make it easier, But like I said, we are here to meet you where you are and provide whatever help, assistance that you need in whatever form that is. In talking with your dedicated paymaster associate, which is the person that is going to be reaching out to you as soon as you fill in that intake form, they will work with you to understand exactly what your needs are and work with you to help make sure that we fulfill those needs in accordance to what you have determined. This bottom section here is one of the things that I kind of wanted to make sure to point out. Remember earlier I mentioned that we don't nickel and dime you? That really, we truly, truly believe that. That 5% fee that you are charged by us is truly comprehensive. All of these items down here, employee onboarding costs, time and attendance service costs, stop payment check reissue costs, minors processing facilitation, payroll, producer of record services, annual tax documentation preparation and filing. All of these things are all 100% inclusive of your established relationship with us as the CalPayArt paymaster. These are things that are normally charged in addition to your fees when you're working with other organizations. We don't believe in that. We want to make sure that we are helping you budget appropriately and know exactly what's going out of your house at any given time. So with that, I'm going to stop talking for a moment and I'm going to turn things over to Martha, back over to Martha. Thanks so much for giving me a little extra time to kind of talk about a few things, but I think we're almost ready to go into Q&A. Am I getting that right, Martha?
Yeah, that's great. So we've had a crack team of people answering the questions. So I think we're pretty much fully answered, although I am going to reach out to Christy and to Terry to see if there are any things that they want to feature. I did catch one in the chat, so I will share this one because I don't think it made it into the Q&A. How would this program, and everyone, please do use the Q&A now if you have additional questions, and we'll try to answer as many as we can in these next 15 minutes. How would this program work with our accountants who currently manage our CalSavers and our ADP payroll?
We would work with your people to help develop the transition plan so that your payroll needs would be transitioned over to us. And with regards to the information that your accountants would need, they would receive regular reports from us on exactly who was paid and when they were paid and all of the requisite items that are in their payroll, so that any information that they would need to put into their books is 100% available to them at all times.
Great. Terry, did you have any questions that you answered that you thought might be useful for everyone to hear?
Not any specific ones. I think, in addition to there are about 8 in there now. But if there aren't any other new ones, I think just going over those that are in there already would be great.
If I could jump in really quick, there's one thing that I kind of wanted to throw out to the group in general. And on the heels of I feel so bad after I do one of these webinars because I feel like I've just, like I said, fire hosed a lot of information for you, to you. I don't expect that everybody's going to be able to suddenly understand everything about a paymaster relationship at the end of this webinar. This webinar is here to give you the fundamental nuts and bolts, give you some broad stroked understandings. I would strongly urge everyone to please call us. Let us talk to you one-on-one. We are here to answer all of your questions as specifically as you need them answered. But with that said, I also want to make sure to set up appropriate expectations that a paymaster is here to help, and its sole purpose is to help your organization do what you need to do so that you can be doing the thing that you intended to do when you started your business. At the same token, I feel obligated to share that a paymaster solution is not necessarily the be-all, end-all solution for running every business. It may not be the appropriate solution for you, but in talking with our paymaster associates, we will make sure that we help you reach the most educated decision for what your organization needs. Calling us does not mean that you are committing to the program. Calling us means that we are going to step in and we are going to help make sure that you are making the right decision for you. Okay, so thank you for giving me that extra moment. It's a really important thing that I want to make sure that if you walk away with nothing else today, I want to make sure that you know that. Okay, so if we could go back to those general questions you were talking about.
Yeah, so I have one question. I'm going to broaden it a little bit because it's a question that has also been coming to me outside of this webinar, and it has to do with the sort of the geographic scope of workers. This question asks, will CalPayArt cover out of US workers also? And then the question that has come to me privately has been, will you, can you handle out of state workers? So many organizations running their own payroll really can't deal with stuff out of state. So they really only work with in-state residents. So can you address the paymaster and your capacity to handle workers from out of state or even international workers?
Absolutely. There are no restrictions on where your hired employees permanently live. If they live in Nevada and they come into California to work for you, absolutely we can do that. Excuse me. I made the mistake of grabbing some bubbly water for today's webinar, and my apologies. On the broader scope of non-US residents and being able to facilitate payroll for them, the only caveat is that that individual needs to be able to provide the appropriate documentation that they are allowed to work in the United States. Absolutely, we can help those. We can run them through payroll so long as they are eligible, legally eligible to work in the United States.
Then I had another question here, and I think even I can answer this one. The question is, do you work with any arts organization or just performing arts? CalPayArt was set up for performing arts organizations, so that is our priority. However, we can accommodate all arts organizations.
Thank you, Martha. Yes.
Oh, there are a whole bunch open now. Terry, could you throw a couple of
Yeah, I think one thing that would be helpful, Laura, to go over, because I know it kind of makes people nervous, this issue of the bond, particularly for people with ongoing payroll services. What kind of a bond are we talking about in terms of amount? I mean, you said it's not, your entire year of payroll, but if you could give people some idea of what the amount of that bond would be, and if there are variables there.
For long-term payroll, we typically request 1.5 months in advance for the bond. Again, this is something that can be paid over the course of a term of time. Sorry, words are suddenly getting hard. This can be something that gets paid off over time. We are more than happy and willing to provide finance options with regards to that, but minimally, we do need at least a month. Like I said, we need to make sure that we always have funds available to cover your payroll. In the event that there are any issues, we resort to that bond money to make sure that your people are able to be paid on time.
Just as a follow-up, probably as you were answering, is the bond refundable, and what are your financing options?
We are not a credit card company. We are not a bank. When I'm speaking of financing options, that means that you would work with your DPA or your dedicated paymaster associate to set up a payoff program to where you would be invoiced for the full amount, and you would work with them to set up the schedule on how you would pay that off. Terry, I believe there was another part of that question. I want to make sure that I'm covering everything, and I just kind of.
Yep. I think you did. Yeah, that was
Oh,
great.
okay.
We have a new question. If you already have workers' comp insurance, would you still be charged 5% of gross payroll? You know, I go ahead.
Understandable. If you already currently have workman's comp and you choose to work with a paymaster, the answer to this really depends on exactly what you would be wanting to do with your paymaster. If you would be planning to bring all of your payroll needs over to have a paymaster execute those for you, you would be able to get rid of your existing workman's comp. If you're only planning on, say, doing productions, doing a partial work with your paymaster associate, you should keep your existing workman's comp. And unfortunately, yes, you would still be charged the 5% through us, because when we take on the employer of record services, we are responsible for the workman's comp claims. We are running the payroll. We are executing the payroll. Subsequently, if that person who is working that we are executing payroll for gets hurt during that term where we are executing their payroll, we are required to make sure that those individuals are covered. I know this sounds like it's a bit of overlapping coverage, but like I said, it really is determined by what services you've chosen to do through a paymaster and what services you've chosen to remain in-house.
So that it's not an option to just do payroll and not have workers' comp go through you. For the people that they're paying through you, workers' comp has to go through you. And if they're currently getting a better rate on the workers' comp, then that's an issue that would factor into their decision-making.
Yes, that is correct,
Okay.
Terry. Thank you for your summary.
The question that we missed before is the bond refundable? If for some reason they put down a bond and then stop using the services and the bond hasn't been used up, would the bond be refundable?
I knew that there was something else in there that was really
you were
important.
right.
Yes. Thank God my memory isn't totally going. Absolutely. Yes, if you choose to terminate your services with your payroll, your DPA will 100% run an audit on everything that is past done, currently being done, set up to be done, and they will absolutely refund all of those unused funds back to you without question. And
Okay.
audit, mind you, is a part of the existing monies that you've already spent. So we're not going to charge you another X number of dollars to run said audit and take that money from your refund. You decide to choose, if you choose to end your services, great. You are not beholden to stay with us for any length of time or to come in and out as you please. That bond will totally be refunded to you.
So 2 questions. One, just to follow up on the workers' comp. So since you're paying the workers' comp and you're doing all the workers' comp, you would also be the ones that handle the annual workers' comp audit.
For those employees that have filed through us, yes.
Right. Yeah. How does the paymaster help with any claims that an employee might file with the labor board? So if you have an employee that files a complaint with the labor board about breaks or about how they are treated in the workplace,
that would be something that remains within the realm of you, the employer. Paymaster Services does not, employing Paymaster Services does not absolve you of all employer responsibilities. It's merely there as a tool to help facilitate a fairly sizable chunk of those activities, specifically surrounding the payroll services. Thank you for clarifying the question, Terry.
Absolutely. A couple of different people have asked which specific workers' comp company do you use? Is it a specific company all the time, or?
Well, for the last couple of years, yes, we have been with the same company. We are, I believe it's Tri-State Insurance at this time out of Minnesota. However, because we do what we do, and because we provide such extensive services across so many territories in the US, we actually have insurance companies competing for our business. That's why we're able to provide a very stable 5% charge to our clients. Because they're competing for our business, they keep the cost down. We find that because of our size and because of the amount of business that we do with, I'm sorry, I almost made myself chuckle. We do execute with our insurance companies. Our rates tend to be very, very stable. In fact, in the years that I have been in the organization, and even in the years prior, looking historically back, the stability that our insurance companies has provided us is really quite stunning. Larger companies tend to not fluctuate their rates so much because of the size of business that they bring to the table.
And just to be clear, for people who have worked with workers' comp before, in your case, and because of the size, it's 5% across the board. There isn't a variation for classifications like we're used to working with workers' comp directly, where clerical
That is
people are
correct.
charged one rate and the other. Okay, so here's kind of a blunt one to wrap it all up. And I'm going to say, even before you answer this, that when you have a specific question like the one I'm about to ask, your best bet as someone who's thinking about doing this program is to contact the paymaster and have a specific conversation with one of their onboarding people. I know some people have a little bit of concern about doing that and thinking that they're committing to something. They're not. And I can tell you, slight testimonial, in addition to my work with CFTI, I also run a theater in Santa Barbara. And so I have started checking into this process through my theater in Santa Barbara. And the people that answer your questions, if you submit the form, there is no hard pitch, sales pitch. They just answer your questions and work with you in your specific situation. So all of that being said, here is the final question, and you've got 1 minute. So, you know, there's no challenge here or anything, Laura. The specific question is, why is this better than paychecks? I have a $5,000 payroll per month with 4 employees. It looks like it would cost me $270 per month. And right now I'm paying $95 with paychecks. Not to set you up, but.
Great question. I'm not sure if I can answer it in 1 minute, because you're comparing apples to oranges right now. If you're currently using paychecks, the costs that you're not necessarily might not be taking into consideration right now is the soft costs, the manpower, the time it takes for your people to be executing all of this instead of doing the work of what your organization is trying to accomplish. In trying to keep this as short as possible, because we are now at time, that really is probably the best answer I can give you. Is if you really want to understand an apples to apples comparison, please call my people and they will help you make sure that you understand exactly the difference between what you may currently be doing now and what you would be doing in a paymaster relationship. Remember, we're here to answer your questions and to meet you where you are.
I'm going to point everyone to 2 things in the chat. There is a JotForm link. It says JotForm ATX Creative Alliance /CalPayArt. That will take you directly to the form we've all been talking about to start an inquiry. I have also put my own email, which you may already have, paymaster@californiansforthearts.org. You can also reach out to me. I check my emails daily. I can answer some questions and maybe can clarify some things as you're getting ready to put in an inquiry. But if you have serious questions about the services, I do encourage you to go direct to the service providers. And if you're ready to not negotiate, but if you're ready to try to enroll in this program, certainly that's where you want to go. But I welcome your emails as well.
John did put in the chat, following up on the paymaster versus paychecks, also the liability and compliance a paymaster offers versus something like paychecks.
Thank you, John.
I also have to say, as a paymaster user and lover, you know, not having to deal with unemployment claims and not having to deal with workers' comp claims is something, if you are a very small organization with limited administrative bandwidth, helps everybody sleep a whole lot better at night, and you can't put a price on that. I wouldn't change for the world.
I gather, Martha, that you've had firsthand experience with some of that. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your time today and allowing me to share this information with you. I guess if we've got no other questions, we'll call it a day today then.
Thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate you being here, and we hope that it's been informative, and we hope to hear from all of you. All right. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Lauren and Robert from Cal Nonprofits, and for sharing this opportunity. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks.